Thank you, Madam Chair. We're here today because the Biden administration cut a dangerous, reckless hostage deal that puts a price on every American head all over the world. And we have a responsibility to the American people to repair this damage. First, let me say that I'm relieved that Americans held hostage by Iran are safely at home. They have been through a terrible ordeal and should never have been imprisoned in the first place. But as part of this deal, the administration dropped charges against 5 Iranian criminals charged with endangering our national security, including by aiding Iran's nuclear program. And at Iran's request, the administration waived sanctions on $6 billion of Iranian funds, which have been frozen in South Korea, to allow that money be transferred and funneled to a bank account in Doha, Qatar, an undisclosed bank, Madam Chair. Under this deal, Iran is getting access to $1.2 billion per blue passport, per American citizen. It is obvious that this agreement incentivizes more hostage-taking. The administration is claiming this money can only be used for humanitarian purchases like food and medicine. But we all know that Iran has a long history of sanction evasion, and money laundering means that we cannot truly know where the funds end up or how they will be used. If we had any doubt about Iran's intentions, look no further than DOJ's 2019 indictment under the previous administration against the Turkish bank. This bank played a central role in facilitating billions of dollars worth of fraudulent Iranian transactions. These transactions were manipulated to look like humanitarian expenses when in fact no such purchases took place. This is nothing new. But let's look at Iran's own words. Iran's President Raisi bragged to the world that Iran would spend the $6 billion, quote, wherever we need it, end of quote. What more evidence do we need, Madam Chair, than that? This is not going for humanitarian purposes. It's going towards terrorism, wherever we need it. And money is fungible, as everybody knows. Giving Iran access to these funds for any purpose frees up money for its malign activities, including its support to proxies like we saw on October 7th to Hamas. Blocking money to Iran is the most consequential thing we can do here in this Congress to stop Iran's financing of terrorism to Hamas and other proxies to help keep our troops safe, who are now under fire from Iran's backed militias. After Hamas's brutal October 7th massacre of over 1,200 innocent people in Israel, the largest attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust, Madam Chair, and over 70 attacks on our forces by Iran's backed proxies this fall, no one can deny Iran's role as the world's leading state sponsor of terror. Put simply, the Middle East is on fire, and Iran's proxies are becoming more aggressive every day with increasing attacks, threatening to throw the Middle East into complete destabilization. And now Iran's destabilization influence extends beyond the Middle East. They continue to supply deadly drones to Russia, supporting their unprovoked war of aggression in Ukraine. Iran is going to keep funneling tens of millions of dollars to Hamas and other terror groups, propping them up with our adversaries like China, like Russia, and North Korea, with weapons. We need to take every measure possible to stop Iran from giving its proxies another dime. After the October 7th attack by Hamas, in which they took 240 hostages, and Madam Chair, we met with some of the families yesterday, and it was one of the most horrific experiences what their loved ones are going through right now in Gaza. Americans held hostage who we have still not been able to get out. They are in an absolute hell right now, in darkness. But it's absolutely undeniable that this hostage deal was a catastrophic mistake. The narrative was something before October 7th. Now they're trying to hide from this deal after October 7th because they know what they did was wrong, because they know what they're doing is funding terror in the Middle East. This body, this Congress, needs to repair that damage. And that's why my bill, the No Funds for Iranian Terrorism Act, imposes new sanctions to permanently prevent the transfer of $6 billion in Iranian funds covered under the 2023 hostage deal, which, by the way, Madam Chair, I haven't seen this deal. The administration says there's a deal. They have not provided that deal to me, nor to my colleagues, to my knowledge. But one thing is clear. This is a moment of moral clarity. With such instability in the region, the last thing we need to do is to give Iran access to $6 billion to be diverted to more Iranian-sponsored terrorism. We must sanction anyone who enables the transfer or processing transactions of these funds, period. Put very simply and succinctly, I can't imagine how anybody could vote against this bill. How could anybody support $6 billion going into Iran when we know, both in classified space, which we can't talk about here, but in the declassified space, exactly who was behind October 7th? Iran is the head of the snake, and the snake had its tentacles all throughout the Middle East, in Gaza with Hamas, in Yemen with the Houthi rebels, in Iraq and Syria with the Iran-backed militias, who, by the way, Madam Chair, are hitting our troops every day. They are under fire by Iran. And we're going to give them $6 billion? Now, the other side will say that's Iran's money. It's sanctioned money. This administration chose to lift the sanctions on the $6 billion. My bill says no, Mr. President. We in the Congress say no to this policy, and we are going to put sanctions on the money so Iran cannot get access to this to fund more terrorism, more killing of innocent Jewish people. And I don't have to go into graphic detail about what happened on October 7th, but we all saw the Hamas video and the gruesomeness of it. I, Madam Chair, will not sit by idly and allow this to happen while Americans are under fire and the Jewish people are being killed by these terrorists. So I urge my colleagues to support this, and I reserve the balance of my time.